so good. Thank you. Welcome back inside the Fit Aid Lounge, everyone. Tommy Marquez alongside Brittany Klein. We just finished up a press conference behind us where Dave Castro announced that the final day of competition at the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games would start at the water, but he didn't give us exactly what we wanted.
In true Dave Castro style.
He said we wouldn't get the workout till tomorrow, so unfortunately we're going to have to wait just a little bit longer to find out what that water event is. But we just finished day number 3. If we thought day 2 was crazy, that day 3 just said, hold my beer, I got something for you. Initial thoughts after seeing probably one of the most insane days of competition at CrossFit.
Yeah, and if you tuned in on our midday show, we were both kind of in shock just in the wake of all of those cuts, a lot of our favourites. And then I guess as the final event for today was announced, we saw a 1RM clean and a lot of heavy hitters weren't there. It was quite disappointing to see. But that being said, it was said before that there'd be less to see but more to watch on the final day of the CrossFit Games. And that was certainly the case in the Coliseum. That 1RM clean, you felt like you were at a weightlifting competition with some loud music and all of your favourites out there. A magic moment as Matt Fraser, 380 pounds on the bar, just magic here, and we're ready for a fight on the final day of competition. Certainly some epic performances in the Coliseum to close out the individual competition, but we're going to start first with the team competition. We'll get you updated on the leaderboard. We didn't quite have the full results on our last show at midday. Leading the overall race for the teams, CrossFit Mayhem Freedom, basically leading wire to wire. It's getting kind of old calling CrossFit Mayhem Freedom at the top of the leaderboard now. They've got a 157-point lead over CrossFit Krypton, who's been pretty staunch there in second place overall. Central Beast right behind them in third, but a triple-digit plus deficit for both of those teams. One of the big stories, though, is Mayhem's dominance. The other is the race for third to fill out the podium. Yeah, I mean, if you look at from third to 7th place, I think it's about 40-something points there. And we know that as more cuts are expected for the teams, and that scoring system does then, an event win or an event placing is more valuable, that this is really anyone's spot on the podium. Yeah, only a couple of spots difference on the leaderboard. Once we cut to 5 can be the difference for those 41 points. You can see that deficit disappear in just one event. We're going to move things over to the women's competition now. We don't have your overall leaderboard right now. They're sorting through a couple of things, but we do have at least the very top 3. Your overall leader right now going into the final day is Tia-Clair Toomey. She's got 721 points. She's 85 points ahead of Kristen Holta, who's in second. Jamie Green, who's been hanging around the top 3 all weekend. She's in third place, but she's 130 points back of Tia-Clair Toomey. Right after that, at last event, Tia-Clair Toomey, right after the first event in the Coliseum before the clean event, Tia-Clair Toomey had the chance to get interviewed by the sideline reporter Nikki Brazier. We actually got that full interview for you guys, and listen what she had to say following the event boom.
First time we've seen just this small amount of 10 final women out on the floor. Does it change your mindset at all, knowing that we've gotten here over the course of cuts through the weekend?
You know, those girls that have been cut so far are my friends, and it's actually quite emotional even thinking about it. They deserve to be here, and you know, I hope that they know that they can walk away with their heads held high, and it's just an honor to be a part of the 10 here out on the field because they're phenomenal athletes as well.
Congratulations, thank you.
Thank you.
Much respect to Tia-Clair Toomey for kind of calling it how she sees it. I think she said what was on a lot of people's minds, and used her platform to kind of share that. And I think it really resonated with a lot of fans because you heard the crowd applaud her, basically giving her a standing ovation for that. Yeah, what are your thoughts on Tia's interview?
I mean, with Tia, she's an Aussie. We say it how it is. And Tia is very, I guess, direct and to the point. And she spent a lot of time in the wings, if you will, you know, a couple of years in second place. And she was kind of a sideline character in our CrossFit Games story. But now she really, like you said, she's using her platform and she is the fittest woman on earth. And at this stage, she's cementing herself as the fittest woman on earth coming into the final day of competition. So I'm proud of her that she spoke her mind and spoke what a lot of athletes are thinking.
Yeah, and kind of touching on her performance to close out the day, you know, a lot of changes went down. There's a lot of turmoil because of the cuts, but Tia calmly and assuredly gets 2 event wins to close out the day. Give herself a little point spread over Kristen Holter, who's also had an impressive performance.
Yeah, and I think Tia really showed she's an Olympic weightlifter. She actually has the Commonwealth Games record in her weight division at 58 kilos for the clean and jerk. So we expected her to do well, but I actually expected Amanda Barnhart to take that event. But Tia, every time she stepped up to the platform, cool, calm, and collected, and I think that's what assured her the event win. Sorry.
So we got to double check our numbers, but I'm pretty sure that was the heaviest clean we've seen in CrossFit Games competition by Tia-Clair Toomey. So congrats, making a little history there as well. Making history on the wrong side maybe is some of the cuts that we saw earlier today. We went from 20 athletes to start the day, and after just one event, we cut the field down to 10 athletes. We'll take a look at some of the notable cuts on the women's side, some familiar faces and big names who were sent home after just one day this morning. Got Annie Thor's daughter, Sarah Sigmund's daughter, a pair of daughters, Brooke Wells, another perennial top 10 favorite, Laura Horvath, her second fittest woman in 2018, Sam Briggs, the 2013 CrossFit Games champion, a multi-time finisher inside the top 5. All of these women didn't make it to the final 10. I think it was a huge surprise. I mean, what kind of emotions come up when you see those names not being on the outside looking in?
Well, I guess the main thing is 4 of those 5 women would have done so well in this final event, and it was disappointing not to see them get their chance to show off in what could have been a pet event, especially for me, Annie Thor's daughter. We call her the original daughter. She's been here since the beginning and she doesn't even get to make it to Sunday. Brooke Wells too. It was quite an emotional moment on the sidelines when both girls, it dawned on them that they weren't going to make it through. Brooke was crying, Annie was consoling her. Obviously we see these women show a lot of emotion on the field, but this is very raw, and even this afternoon there's still that excitement, great performances on the competition floor, but it's also almost a somber feeling as well that some of our favorites aren't competing anymore.
Yeah, some fan favorites, and we heard Dave Castro say some people with some big Instagram followings are going home after day number 3. Moving over to the men's competition, looking at the overall standings. I mean, again, some people may criticize the system, but right now we have a race on our hands. Matt Fraser is in second place. Overall leader Noah Olson is ahead of Matt by just 15 points. It's only 15 points separate first from second, and for the first time in a long time, Matt Fraser ends the final day not in the overall lead. I mean, we're watching them battle it out there on the competition floor. What are your thoughts on this Fraser-Noah Olson race?
That should be the story of the weekend. And even then, we saw Noah Olson in a foot race with Panchek. I think it was 0.03 of a second, which got him a place, which could be the difference between taking the leader jersey, well, continuing with the leader jersey into day 3. So it's really exciting to watch that play out. Matt Fraser, though, with those last 2 events, I think he's going to be tough to beat on day 3 of the competition. Sorry, the final day of competition.
Yeah, impressive performance by Noah to kind of gain those extra points during the tiebreak, and even more impressive performance from Fraser. You know, despite all the cuts and changes, how does he respond? Well, back-to-back event wins to close out the day. Has a ton of momentum going into the finale. You know, it's going to be a dogfight going into that final day. But just like on the women's side, we saw some significant cuts on the men's side of things. Some big names going home as well. We showed you the graphic just a second ago. We're going to take a look at it again. Here are the notable men's cuts going into the final day of competition. Second fittest man on earth, Patrick Vellner, had a strong season. He won Wadapalooza. He was second at the Rogue Invitational. He is going home after day number 3. He's just outside the top 10, misses the cut. Cole Sager, another top 10 athlete. Lucas Hoberg, another podium finisher from 2018. He was 3rd place overall. He's going home as well. Travis Mayer, another guy that people thought could potentially push for the top 10. He doesn't make the cut. Again, similar to the women. I mean, what really can you say at this point, seeing all of these big names going home?
The big one for me is Patrick Vellner. He hasn't performed badly this weekend, and yet he's not making it through to Sunday. He said it best himself that, you know, now events that would have been maybe his wheelhouse of popping up, but he doesn't even get the chance to do it. I think he said that now we're going to do CrossFit, but there'll be no CrossFit athletes left. So pretty critical there of the new system changes, but you know, he took it like a champion. He said this is what happens in competition. So I guess moving forward, a lot of the men have been talking about this is the way that the system is now, and they're going to have to get used to it.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot of kind of mental reframing to kind of figure out the best course of action now that we're seeing some very fit athletes that have proven themselves time and time again, not even getting to go on to the final day of competition. But if they want to get a good workout in, or maybe a little test for themselves, I know something that they can do. And it's actually something you did just a second ago. ROMWOD has got this little course set up for people to tackle, and our very own Brittany Klein took it on just a little bit earlier today. Check it out.
More well-rounded, they're recovering better, they're performing better because they're taking care of themselves, they're actually stretching like they didn't for years.
You ready?
Same voice and everything. Unfortunately, sometimes I get tired of his voice because I hear it in my sleep. He haunts me. I joke with Greg all the time that we're one of the only brands that are helping your people get better and come back next week. ROMWOD was the one thing that kind of everybody knew they should be doing, and some people were stretching, some people were doing yoga, but it was like the giant gap in the road that everybody saw. Everybody was walking around or jumping over, and we just kind of paved over it.
Here we go.
Anybody that made the games got a free year supply, so a whole lifetime ROMWOD. And we take care of these VIPs for life.
Oh man, our videographer who's been cutting up these packages for us all weekend long, Luke Duffy, takes the win. But you don't look too thrilled.
Well, this is the thing. Anyone at our box at home, CrossFit Ducks in Brisbane, will know it doesn't matter where you come on the leaderboard as long as I beat Luke. So everyone would know that I'm pretty disappointed with that performance. Well, maybe a rematch.
Maybe might have to do it tomorrow. I definitely want to go check it out as too. But props to you and Luke for both tackling that challenge. You know, we're going to wrap things up here in just a second, but before we go, just some final thoughts as we head into the final day of competition at the 2019 Reebok CrossFit.
Yeah, I'm going in with a positive attitude. I mean, that last event that we saw with only 10 athletes, it was really a spectacle in the Coliseum. So I think that whatever Dave Castro has in store, now that he only has a few athletes, he could do some really exciting things with the programming. Yeah, it's disappointing that we won't see some of our favourite athletes, but you know, we forgive and forget. That's done, that's dusted, and I think it's all important that we move on to a great final day of competition.
Yeah, that last event was awesome, and really an event you can only accomplish when you have 10 athletes on the floor. So we got to see some unique programming show up with that smaller sample size. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with us today. That's going to do it for us here at the Morning Chalk Up Show presented by Kettlebell Kitchen. Some people are gathering behind us in the Fit Aid Lounge for a little volunteer dinner, so we're going to show the volunteers some love. And I hope you guys tune in tomorrow. We'll be coming back at you tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. to bring you guys a little bit more analysis and prep you for the final day of competition at the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games. For Brittany Klein, I'm Tommy Marquez. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning.